She needed a Christmas date. Her billionaire boss asked her to fake it with him. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. Christmas lights glow softly across the city, but inside a quiet office on the 32nd floor, there is nothing festive about the way she exhales. The clock on her computer reads 6:47 in the evening. Everyone else has already gone home. She is still there, seated at her desk, staring at her phone as if it might deliver a miracle. It does not. Instead, her screen lights up with another message from her mother. So, what time are you bringing him on Christmas Eve? She does not reply. Her fingers hover over the screen, then lower slowly. Outside the window, snow drifts past glass towers worth more than her entire lifetime of paychecks. Inside, her chest tightens. She never meant for the lie to grow this big. A few weeks ago, it had slipped out too easily. One harmless sentence over a rushed phone call. Yes, Mom, I am seeing someone. It was supposed to buy her time. It was supposed to end there. But Christmas never forgets. Christmas remembers everything. It remembers who is still single, who is still struggling, who has not made it yet. Another message appears, this time from her aunt, then her cousin. You are finally bringing him, right? We cannot wait to meet him. He must be special if you have been hiding him. She closes her eyes. She is 30, successful on paper, exhausted in reality, and very much alone. She has no boyfriend, no date, and definitely no man to walk beside her into a living room full of judgment, wrapped in holiday cheer. She stands, grabs her coat, and exhales through her nose, trying to steady herself. That is when a voice speaks behind her. You are still here. She freezes. Slowly, she turns. He stands a few feet away, jacket over one arm, expression unreadable, tall, composed, the kind of man who never rushes, because time seems to wait for him instead. Her boss. The billionaire CEO. She did not hear him come in. I am sorry, she says quickly. I was just finishing up. His eyes flick briefly to the phone still clutched in her hand. He does not ask. He rarely does. Silence is his favorite language. She forces a smile that does not quite reach her eyes. Everything all right? He asks. For a split second, she almost lies again. Then her phone buzzes once more, as if exposing her. I need to leave, she says, a little too fast. Family stuff. Christmas. Something shifts in his expression. Not curiosity. Recognition. I see, he says. She nods, embarrassed by how small her voice sounds in such a large office. They think I have a boyfriend. He raises an eyebrow slightly. Do you? She shakes her head before she can stop herself. There is a pause. A long one. The city hums below them. Snow continues to fall. Somewhere far away, someone laughs. Then he speaks again, calm and deliberate. How long do you need him for? Her heart skips. What? A boyfriend, he clarifies. For Christmas. She stares at him, certain she misheard. He takes a step closer, lowering his voice, not unkind, but firm. If you need a Christmas date, he says, pretend it is me. The words hang in the air, impossible and unmistakable. Her boss, her billionaire boss, standing in front of her, offering a solution that feels completely unreal. She opens her mouth, but no sound comes out. And just like that, the lie she tried to escape becomes something far more dangerous. The elevator ride down feels longer than usual. She stands alone, arms folded tightly across her coat, replaying his words over and over in her mind. Pretend it is me, not a joke, not a tease, a statement. Calm, controlled, as if he had just offered a business solution to a minor inconvenience. By the time she steps out into the cold, the city has already wrapped itself in Christmas. Store windows glow. Couples laugh, bundled together, their breath fogging the air. Somewhere, a bell rings. Somewhere, a family is whole. She walks past all of it. Her phone vibrates again. This time, she answers. Yes, Mom, she says quietly. Her mother sounds cheerful, almost triumphant. We finalize Christmas Eve dinner. Everyone is coming. Your aunt, your cousins, even your grandmother. And of course, she adds, lowering her voice just enough to sting, we are all very excited to finally meet him. Her grip tightens on the phone. Yes, she says. I know. You will bring him, right? Her mother presses. You said you would. She looks down at the sidewalk, at the thin layer of snow already collecting around her shoes. She imagines the living room back home, the questions, the looks, the careful smiles that always seem to hide disappointment. Yes, she says again. I will. When the call ends, she stands there for a long moment, letting the cold seep in. She tells herself she should turn around, go back upstairs, tell him no, laugh it off, apologize for the misunderstanding. But she does not, because this is not just about Christmas. This is about every holiday she has ever spent proving she is fine when she is not. Every promotion that was never enough. Every success that still came with the question, but when will you settle down? She exhales slowly. That night, sleep does not come easily. The next morning, she arrives early. Too early. The office is still quiet when she steps inside, coffee in hand, nerves already fraying. She sits at her desk and tries to focus on her screen, but her thoughts keep circling back to one thing. Was he serious? At exactly 8:30, his office door opens. Come in, he says, without looking up. Her heart jumps. She had not knocked. She steps inside, hands clasped in front of her, feeling strangely like she is about to sign something far more important than a document. You wanted to see me? She asks. He gestures for her to sit. I assume you thought about my suggestion, he says. Suggestion. The word sounds too mild for what it felt like. Yes, she says carefully. I did. And? He asks. She meets his gaze. I do not understand why you would do this. He leans back slightly. That does not matter. It matters to me, she says, surprising herself with how steady her voice sounds. This is not something small. No, he agrees. It is not. He pauses, then continues, measured as always. Christmas Eve, 2 days. You arrive with me, you leave with me. We behave appropriately. Nothing more. And after, she asks. After it ends, he says, cleanly. She swallows. And if people ask questions? They will, he replies. I will handle them. And at work, she presses. This does not exist here, he says. No one needs to know. There it is, the boundary. Clear, professional, safe. She looks down at her hands. I do not want anyone thinking I am doing this for advantages. His eyes sharpen slightly. I would not insult you that way. The words land heavier than she expects. Silence stretches between them. Finally, she nods. All right. He studies her for a moment longer, as if making sure she understands the weight of what she just agreed to. Then we have a deal, he says. She stands, legs unsteady, and turns toward the door. As her hand reaches for the handle, his voice stops her. For the record, he says, this is not charity. She looks back. It is convenience, he finishes. She nods once more and leaves. But as she walks back to her desk, heart racing, she realizes something unsettling. She is not sure which one of them needs this more. She does not tell anyone. Not her coworkers, not her friends, not even herself, at least not out loud. For the rest of the morning, she works as if nothing has changed, answering emails, reviewing schedules, nodding politely in meetings. On the outside, everything looks the same. On the inside, every thought keeps circling back to one unavoidable truth. She has agreed to pretend she is his girlfriend. By noon, an email arrives in her inbox. Subject line, Christmas itinerary. Her pulse quickens as she opens it. The message is brief, precise, typical of him. Arrival time, departure time, dress code, location, a private residence outside the city, his family home. At the bottom, a single line stands out. Please come to my office at 4:30 to discuss details. At 4:29, she is already standing outside his door. Come in, he says. This time, there is no small talk. He places a thin folder on the desk between them and slides it toward her. It is not a contract, at least not on paper, but it feels like one. Before we leave, he says, we need to be clear. She nods. These are the boundaries, he continues. First, this arrangement is temporary. It ends after Christmas. Understood, she says. Second, he adds, we do not change how we work. In this building, I am your employer, nothing else. Yes. Third, he says, his voice steady. We do not lie unnecessarily. We keep the story simple. She looks up. What is the story? He does not hesitate. We met through work. We kept it private. We are serious. Her throat tightens slightly at the word serious, but she says nothing. And finally, he says, pausing for the first time, no expectations. She frowns. What does that mean? It means, he explains, this is a role, not a promise. She exhales. I can do that. He studies her carefully, as if testing whether she believes herself. Good, he says. Then let us make sure you are prepared. The next hour passes faster than she expects. They go over names, his parents, his sister, a few close family friends who will be present, what questions they are likely to ask, what details matter and which ones do not. You like red wine, he says. You do not drink whiskey. She blinks. I do not? You will not, he replies calmly. Not there. She almost laughs but stops herself. He explains traditions. Dinner on Christmas Eve, breakfast together the next morning, a short walk after sunset. You will not be alone, he says. If at any point you are uncomfortable, you stay near me. She nods, surprised by the quiet reassurance in his tone. And what about us? She asks before she can stop herself. He raises an eyebrow. What about us? How do we act? She clarifies, feeling heat rise to her face. In front of them, he considers the question. Comfortable, he says. Familiar. Nothing exaggerated. No grand gestures, she says. No, he agrees. That would invite suspicion. She lets out a breath she did not realize she was holding. At the end of the meeting, he stands and reaches for his coat. There is one more thing, he says. She looks at him. You are not doing this because you owe me, he says. And you are not doing it because I asked. Then why am I doing it? She asks quietly. Because you chose to, he replies. The words linger. As she leaves his office, she realizes something has shifted. Not dramatically, not visibly, but the rules have been set. The lines have been drawn. This is still fake, still controlled, still temporary. And yet, as Christmas draws closer, she cannot shake the feeling that pretending might be the most dangerous part of all. The transformation does not happen all at once. It begins quietly, the way most things do when they are meant to feel normal. The morning of their departure arrives faster than she expects. A car waits downstairs, dark and polished, the driver already standing by when she steps outside with her small overnight bag. Snow dusts the sidewalk. The air smells like pine and cold metal. He is already inside the car. Good morning, he says, as if this is just another workday. Good morning, she replies, sliding into the seat beside him. The door closes. The city fades behind them. For the first 10 minutes, neither of them speaks. The road stretches ahead, flanked by trees wrapped in frost. She watches her breath fog the window, trying to ignore how aware she is of his presence. Not imposing, not distant, simply there. You can relax, he says at last. We are not performing yet. She lets out a soft laugh. I did not realize how tense I was until you said that. You will get used to it, he replies. They arrive at the house just after noon. It is not a mansion in the way magazines portray them. It is large, yes, but understated. Warm lights glow behind wide windows. Wreaths hang on the doors. There is smoke curling from a chimney. It is beautiful, she says honestly. He nods. It is home. Inside, everything smells like cinnamon and evergreen. A woman greets them at the door, smiling politely, her eyes immediately flicking between their faces, searching for cues. This is her, he says simply. The one I told you about. The word one lands heavier than she expects. The woman smiles wider. We are so glad you could come. She returns the smile, hoping it looks natural. Over the next few hours, she learns quickly. She learns when to speak and when to listen. She learns that his mother watches details closely. She learns that his sister is curious, but kind. She learns that people here are not impressed by money. They are impressed by ease. And slowly, she finds it. He does not hover. He does not direct her. When someone asks how they met, he answers once, calmly, then lets her add what she wants. When she hesitates, he fills the silence without drawing attention to it. At one point, she reaches for the wrong glass. Without a word, he switches his with hers. It is such a small thing that it nearly takes her breath away. Later, as the afternoon light fades, she steps outside onto the back porch to catch her breath. Snow crunches beneath her shoes. The sky is pale, almost lavender. "You are doing well," he says, joining her. "I am trying not to overthink," she admits. "You are succeeding," he replies. "They like you." She looks at him. "And you?" A pause. "I trust you," he says. That feels more dangerous than liking. Dinner that evening is louder. Stories, laughter, the clink of silverware. At one point, his hand settles at the small of her back, light and brief, as he guides her past a crowded doorway. The touch lingers long after it ends. She catches herself wondering if anyone notices the way her shoulders relax when he is near. Later, alone in the guest room, she sits on the edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling. Her reflection in the mirror looks the same, but something beneath the surface feels altered. This was supposed to be pretending, yet nothing about the way the day unfolded felt forced. Down the hall, she hears him laugh. It is softer than the one he uses at work. Real. She lies back slowly, heart unsteady. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and she is no longer sure where the role ends and she begins. Christmas Eve arrives, wrapped in sound. Laughter spills from the living room. Glasses clink. Someone hums along to an old holiday song, playing softly in the background. The house feels fuller than it did the night before, as more relatives and close friends gather for dinner. She adjusts the sleeve of her sweater, steadying her breath before stepping back into the room. This is the part she did not prepare for. The table is long, polished, already crowded with dishes and people. She takes her seat beside him, close enough that their knees almost touch. He leans in slightly, just enough to be natural. "You are all right," he murmurs. She nods. At first, the questions are harmless. How long have you two been together? Where did you go on your first trip? What do you like most about him? She answers carefully, honestly where she can, vaguely where she must. He fills in gaps smoothly, never correcting her, never contradicting her. They move like a practiced pair, even though they are not. Then his aunt speaks. "So," she says with a polite smile that does not quite reach her eyes. "What do you do exactly?" The room quiets slightly, not completely, just enough for the question to feel heavier. She feels it, the familiar tightening in her chest, the moment when people decide whether she belongs. "I work in operations," she says, "project coordination, logistics." "And before that?" the aunt presses. She hesitates. Before that, she worked late nights. Before that, she struggled. Before that, she was never quite impressive enough. "I worked my way up," she says simply. The woman nods, then glances at him. "That must be convenient," she says lightly. "Working for him." The implication hangs there, unspoken but sharp. She feels heat rise to her face. She waits. Part of her expects him to step in. He does not. Instead, he remains silent, watching her carefully. Something inside her steadies. "It is not convenient," she says calmly. "It is challenging. I was hired because I was qualified, not because of who I am sitting next to tonight." The room stills. She continues, voice even. "And if I were not, I would not be there." A beat passes. Then his sister smiles. "That sounds like him," she says. "He does not tolerate incompetence." A few people chuckle. The tension loosens. The aunt nods, retreating. "Of course, I meant no offense." She smiles politely. "None taken." Under the table, his hand finds hers. It is not dramatic. It is not possessive. Just a quiet acknowledgement. Later, during dessert, another guest laughs and says, "You must feel lucky. Not everyone gets this life." She meets the woman's gaze. "I feel grateful," she replies. "But I also know this life is not borrowed. It is shared." This time, he looks at her. Really looks. After dinner, as people move toward the fireplace, his mother pulls her aside. "I can see why he chose you," she says softly. Her throat tightens. "Thank you." Across the room he watches them, unreadable. When their eyes meet, he nods once. Not as her boss, not as her partner in a lie, but as someone who just watched her stand alone and choose herself. And for the first time since this began, she realizes the role is no longer protecting her. She is protecting it. The house grows quieter as the night deepens. One by one, conversations fade. Chairs scrape softly against the floor. Someone turns down the music. Outside, snow continues to fall, slow and steady, blanketing the world in white. She steps into the kitchen to help clear the last plates, but his mother gently waves her away. "You have done enough," she says with a warm smile. "Go sit, enjoy the evening." She nods, grateful, and slips out through the back door instead. The cold air hits her cheeks immediately. She pulls her coat tighter and walks a few steps into the yard, letting the silence settle around her. The lights from the house glow behind her, soft and golden, like a promise she is not sure she deserves. Footsteps crunch in the snow. "You disappeared," he says. "I needed air," she replies. He stops beside her, close enough that she can feel the warmth from his coat. Neither of them looks at the other at first. They stand side by side, facing the dark stretch of trees beyond the yard. "You handled tonight well," he says quietly. She exhales. "I did not expect to." "They respect you," he continues. "That is not easy to earn here." She turns to him then. "You let me answer on my own." "Yes," he says. "Why?" she asks. He considers the question longer than usual, because stepping in would have implied you needed saving. The words sink in. They stand there in silence again, the kind that feels heavy but not uncomfortable. "Can I ask you something?" she says. He nods. "Why do you hate Christmas?" she asks. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "I did not say I hated it." "You do not enjoy it," she replies gently. "That is different." He looks out at the snow. "It reminds people of what they expect," he says finally. "Family, warmth, belonging." "And you do not believe in those things?" she asks. "I believe they are temporary," he says. "People leave, traditions change. It is easier not to attach." She studies his profile, the calm control he carries so naturally. "That sounds lonely." He does not deny it. "My father loved this house," he says after a moment. "He believed gatherings like this mattered. After he died, it felt like we were all pretending for his sake." Her chest tightens. "So you kept coming anyway?" "Yes." "For your family," she says. "And because leaving would have been noticed," he adds. She smiles faintly. "You and I have that in common." He looks at her. "Being noticed?" "Being expected to perform," she says, "even when you were tired." Something shifts between them then, not dramatically, just enough to feel. A gust of wind passes, colder than before. Without thinking, he reaches out and adjusts her scarf, his fingers brushing her neck. The contact is brief, instinctive. They both freeze. "I am sorry," he says immediately, stepping back. She shakes her head. It is all right. But her heart is racing. They walk back inside together, slower than before. At the doorway to the guest rooms, they stop. "Tomorrow," she says softly. "This ends." "Yes," he agrees. "And after that," she continues, "we go back to normal." He nods again. Neither of them moves. "Thank you," she says finally, "for tonight." He meets her gaze. "Thank you for choosing to stay." She watches him walk away, disappearing down the hall. Alone in her room, she sits on the bed and presses a hand to her chest, trying to slow her breathing. This was supposed to be pretending, but somewhere between the silence, the snow, and the things they did not say, the line has begun to blur. And she knows, with a certainty that unsettles her, that tomorrow will change everything. Christmas morning arrives quietly, too quietly. The house no longer hums with voices or clinking dishes. Sunlight filters through the windows, pale and cold, reflecting off the snow outside. She wakes early, fully dressed within minutes, heart already heavy with a sense of ending. This is the day it is supposed to stop. Downstairs, conversations are polite but subdued. Breakfast is shorter than the day before. People begin to gather coats, exchange hugs, make plans to leave. The warmth of Christmas Eve lingers, but it feels fragile now, like something that will dissolve the moment it is touched. She stays close to him, just as they agreed, until she does not. It happens quickly. A family friend pulls her aside near the doorway, smiling too brightly. "You seem lovely," the woman says. "But I was surprised." "Surprised?" she asks. "That he finally brought someone," the woman continues. "Especially someone from work." The words land sharply. Before she can respond, another voice joins in. "So it is true," his cousin says, not bothering to lower his tone. "You are his assistant." "Operations coordinator," she wants to correct, but it does not matter. "And now his girlfriend," the cousin adds. "That is quite a promotion." A few heads turn. She feels the room shift. I earned my position, she says evenly. The cousin chuckles. I am sure you did. That is when she sees him across the room, speaking with his sister. He notices the tension immediately. Their eyes meet. She waits for him to come over. He does not. Instead, his sister says something quietly to him. His expression changes. Not anger, calculation. Moments later, she hears his voice behind her. That is enough, he says, calm but firm. This conversation is over. The cousin shrugs and walks away. Relief washes through her. Brief, fleeting. Then she hears the next part. Let us not pretend this arrangement is something it is not, he continues, addressing the group without looking at her. This is temporary. The word hits her like ice water. Temporary. The room falls silent. She feels every eye turn toward her. She looks at him, searching his face for something. An explanation, a signal, anything. There is nothing. He continues, voice controlled. We agreed this would not be misunderstood. Agreed. Her chest tightens. She steps back slightly. You told them, she says quietly. I clarified, he replies. Without me, she says. A pause. This is my family, he says. I handle things my way. Something inside her breaks then. Not loudly, not visibly, but completely. I see, she says. She turns and walks toward the door, ignoring the concerned looks, the murmurs behind her. Outside, the cold air feels sharp against her skin, grounding her in a way nothing else can. Footsteps follow. Wait, he says. She turns, eyes bright but steady. Do not. He stops. You were right, she continues. This was a role, and I forgot that for a moment. That is not fair, he says. No, she replies. What is not fair is pretending I was protected when I was not. I stepped in, he says. When it was already too late, she answers. Silence stretches between them. This ends today, she says. Just like you said. She hands him the scarf he lent her, careful not to touch his fingers. For what it is worth, she adds softly. I believed you when you said this was convenience. That was my mistake. She walks away before he can respond. Inside the house, Christmas fades back into what it has always been for her. A reminder, not of what she has, but of what she is never supposed to want. She leaves before noon. The car ride back to the city is silent. Snow blurs past the window, but she barely notices. Her phone remains face down in her bag. She does not check it. She already knows there will be messages, explanations, carefully chosen words meant to smooth what should not be smoothed. By the time the skyline appears, she has made a decision. This ends cleanly, like he wanted. The following days pass in a haze of routine. Work resumes. Meetings continue. Emails pile up. On the surface, everything returns to normal, except nothing does. He does not speak to her unless necessary. She does her job flawlessly, refusing to give anyone a reason to question her professionalism. They move around each other like strangers who share a history neither is willing to acknowledge. On the third day after Christmas, an invitation appears on her calendar. Mandatory attendance. Company holiday gala. Rescheduled due to weather. She stares at the screen. Of course. That evening, the venue glows with light and glass and muted music. People arrive dressed in elegance and confidence, their laughter echoing against marble floors. She steps inside, composed, careful, every inch the capable professional she has always been. She does not expect to see him immediately. He stands near the center of the room, speaking with board members, posture impeccable. When their eyes meet across the crowd, something unreadable flickers across his face. She looks away. The program begins, speeches, applause, toasts. She listens without really hearing, her attention pulled tight by the tension she feels rather than sees. Then he steps onto the stage. The room quiets. This year, he begins, voice steady, has been defined by performance, growth, discipline, standard words, safe words. Then he stops. But tonight, he continues, I want to speak about something we rarely acknowledge. People shift in their seats. Integrity, he says. The kind that does not announce itself. The kind that stands firm when it would be easier to stay silent. Her breath catches. There is someone here tonight who embodied that, he says, gaze lifting to the crowd. Someone who was judged quickly, incorrectly, and who responded not with defensiveness, but with dignity. A murmur ripples through the room. He looks directly at her. I failed her, he says plainly. The room stills completely. I allowed convenience to override courage, he continues, and I regret it. Her heart pounds. This company does not reward proximity, he says. It rewards merit, and anyone who suggests otherwise does not speak for me. Whispers break out. He steps down from the stage and walks toward her. Every eye follows. When he stops in front of her, he does not lower his voice. I was wrong, he says, and I am sorry. Silence surrounds them. This is not part of any agreement, he continues. There is no arrangement left to protect, only the truth. Her hands tremble slightly, but she keeps them at her sides. You do not owe me this, she says quietly. I know, he replies. That is why I am doing it. He turns to the room once more. For clarity, he says, there was no transaction, no promotion, no benefit, only my failure to stand where I should have. He looks back at her. I will not ask you to forgive me, he says, but I needed to say this. The music resumes softly. Conversations restart, cautious and subdued. She exhales slowly. This is not the grand gesture she imagined. It is better. It is unprotected, unscripted, real. She meets his gaze one last time and nods, not in acceptance, but in acknowledgement. For the first time, he has chosen her, not as a role, not as a convenience, but as a person worth standing for. The gala ends quietly. No applause follows her as she leaves. No dramatic music swells. Just the soft hum of conversations resuming, and the steady rhythm of her heels against the marble floor as she walks out into the cold night. Outside, the city feels different, not warmer, not brighter, but clearer. She breathes in deeply, letting the air fill her lungs, grounding herself in the present. For the first time since Christmas began, she is not running from anything. Behind her, a door opens. I hoped you would not leave yet, he says. She turns slowly. He stands a few steps away, no entourage, no distance, just a man who looks more uncertain than she has ever seen him. You said what you needed to say, she replies. Yes, he agrees, but I did not ask what you needed. She studies him. And if I do not know the answer? Then we can start there, he says. Silence settles between them, softer than before. I meant what I said, he continues. There is nothing left to protect, no family watching, no board listening, no agreement. She nods. I know. And still, he adds, I would like to see you. Not because I need a solution, not because it is convenient. She waits. Because I choose you, he finishes. The words hang there, unadorned. I will not step into something unclear again, she says calmly. I will not pretend. Neither will I, he replies. She considers him for a long moment, measuring not his words, but his stillness. The way he does not reach for her, the way he does not rush. All right, she says finally, one step at a time. Relief crosses his face, subtle but unmistakable. They walk together, not touching, down the steps and into the quiet street. Weeks pass. There are no grand announcements, no headlines, no sudden changes. Just dinners after work, long conversations, a shared understanding that neither of them owes the other anything. She visits her family again, alone this time, and for the first time, it feels honest. Later, when she introduces him, it is not at Christmas. It is on an ordinary afternoon. No pressure, no audience. And this time, she does not need him to stand beside her. He does it anyway. One evening, months later, they return to the city after a long walk. Snow begins to fall, light and unhurried. This is my favorite part, she says softly, when everything slows down. He looks at her. Mine too. He stops, reaches into his coat, and then pauses. This is not a proposal, he says carefully. It is a question. She smiles. That is a good start. Would you like to keep choosing each other? He asks. Without contracts? Without roles? She does not hesitate. Yes, she says. The snow continues to fall around them, quiet and steady. And in that moment, she understands something she did not before. Love does not arrive dressed as a solution. It arrives when no one is pretending anymore, when nothing is required, and when choosing someone feels less like a risk and more like coming home.